Oh my God, what is that thing? Oh my God. If that was your reaction, then you're probably like me. That thing came on stage and I was like, what in the God's name did this guy just put up on stage? So listen guys, our media fails us in a lot of ways, and YouTube fails us also in a lot of ways. Now, the issue is like some people, I mean, Doug Demuro does a great job when it comes to doing reviews, and I love how he puts the camera outside the driver door and looks through the window, and he's sitting in the passenger side. But when I saw this video of him talking about how the Tesla truck is really going to present itself in this market, how it's going to succeed, you're dead wrong, man. So I'm going to give you guys my reasons, one after the other, all in a nice organized fashion with the description showing that order to let you know why you maybe need to rethink this. If you hate the Tesla truck, you're going to want to definitely watch this, because I might change your mind. And if you like it, I might give you something that you haven't thought of yet. So here we go. Number one. Number one is YouTubers generally as a group kind of get into this groupthink perspective. This is what our media does. I looked at the night the Tesla truck was debuted, and it was like a little pot, okay? It was like a little pot with potting soil. And what grew from it was the exact same comments they propagated across the internet. What I basically saw was everybody repeating each other. People on the forums read other people's comments, they jump in front of their million subscribers, and they basically just regurgitate like Street Speed 717. Basically, this is what people do. They go on the forums, they read, they jump in front of their audience, and they regurgitate everything that they read, and they make it like, oh, look what I thought of. So, Doug Demuro didn't necessarily try to do that. He did try to give some market perspective, but he was looking at it like he was like a brand manager inside of Ford trying to decide like, hey guys, this is where we need to position ourselves. That's the wrong game to play. So number one is these YouTubers and these media people, they're all following each other. You have to think for yourself, and that's what I did, and I'm going to help you think for yourself. So let's get to number two. Number two is the fact of what Doug Demuro missed is really, yes, it's got the name pickup. It's like a pickup truck, but it has no comp. Now, Doug Demuro, he took a big look at what's competitive, what's the towing rating, what's the payload rating, what's the cost. I mean, he looked at the real numbers of it, and I can understand why he did that, because that's a lot of what the market's doing. They're looking at this as if it has a comp. And I want to point out that when Porsche created the Cayenne, they created the Cayenne because they wanted to basically do something that would prop up the brand. They wanted to take what they had already and leverage it in a market that they really had nothing to lose, but everything to gain. And it changed everything for Porsche internally. It's a highly profitable vehicle for them. And they didn't have to do everything the Ford Escape did, or everything that the Suburban or Tahoe did. They had to just do Porsche, and then they had to put it into a package that the kind of center mainstream wanted out of an SUV. They gave them both, and the fans of Porsche were always going to cut them slack on it. They didn't need it to do everything that the competitor did in terms of the label SUV. They wanted Porsche, and so that's the same thing with Tesla. People really, first and foremost, in a lot of ways, are going to just want some Tesla. They want them some Tesla, and they want it in a pickup package. There's going to be compromises, but what do they gain? And that's a big point. So the fact is there is no comp for this vehicle. So it really doesn't matter. Tesla only has to just kind of do what the big three and Toyota can do with their pickups, but the big three and Toyota cannot do what Tesla can do. That's a key. Number three is design. And we have to talk about this design. It's undeniable. But before we really get into this, I want you to think about this for a second. Think about children of the 80s, the 90s, even late 70s. What did we see? What did we really think of? What are the big innovative shapes? F-117 stealth fighter, Lamborghini Countach, maybe even a Vector. I mean, look at these shapes, the Bertone-esque feel of design throughout the 80s. It influences many cars. And obviously we could even see it in Corvette and C4 Corvette and other shapes. It's in some ways, it's a big connection for us in 30s and 40s because we think back to things of our childhood. But at the same time, Elon Musk made things possible that we would have never gotten. But the fact of the matter is just think about yourself going down the highway. Think about this vehicle off a stage, but inside of 3-4 lanes of traffic. How is this vehicle going to stand out? For the first time, and literally the first time in history, truck guys have like an exotic truck. I mean, and it's $40,000. I mean, when we talk about the C8 Corvette, it's giving the working man the mid-engine exotic sports car they've wanted in a sea of sports cars, in a sea of mid-engine cars, McLarens and NSX, and there's so many options already, and C8 is considered the Motor Trend Innovation of the Year. I mean, the fact is you truck guys, think about it. When's the last time something really innovative happened in pickup truck design? Yeah, I'll give you a couple minutes to think about it, because really it was like the mid-90s Dodge Ram. I mean, they barely just, oh, we're going to put the hood up a little, we're going to bring the headlights down. It's like a semi design. That was big, and people really liked those trucks. A lot of people bought them. I mean, that was the most innovative design strategy move that we had seen in a long time. You couldn't get as much attention going down the road in a Bugatti Chiron as you're going to get in this pickup truck for 40 grand, and it's probably going to be that way for the first several years. So this is a big deal, and it's something I think people need to think about. Not everybody's about look, but a lot of people are about look. And there's a few compromises that may come with it, but what are you going to gain? And this design, it's a clean slate. It gives you so much, and we're going to talk about it here in a second. So number 4 is it targets the center of the market. So the fact is the center of the market are people who are hobbyists, occasional users. This is what pickup trucks have become. People aren't using them like they used them in the 40s or the 50s as literal farm trucks, work trucks, utilitarian vehicles. Now these are family vehicles. People daily drive their pickup truck. They use it as their car. They just want more space. They want to be higher up. They want to have a bigger vehicle, and they do it at the expense of gas mileage. And so the fact is this is what this vehicle really targets. And these people don't generally push big payloads and tow heavy. I mean, they're towing maybe a boat, maybe a quad, maybe a utility trailer, a lawn trailer, small things well within the realm of even the base model here. And this is why this is what GM and Ford sells. They sell F-150s and 1500s. I mean, this is really the core of the market. And again, Tesla has nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right, guys, this is a big one. Number 5 is going to be the big one. I'm going to tell you right now. Number 5 is the aftermarket. And I am telling you, if anything has grown exponentially since the recession, it has been the market for aftermarket bits and pieces and add-ons for trucks. SEMA was 80% cars in 2010, literally the last year here. I mean, you can check out some of my videos. It was half trucks, overlanding, off-roading. I mean, everything from the guys that kind of modify and do the mall crawler status, if you will, to where it's just, the lower profile wheels that have kind of like an off-road tread. Everybody knows they're not taking that thing rock crawling, but it's kind of the off-road look mixed with like a street look. That is huge, and man, I really think the Tesla plays into this big time. I mean, you look at some of these Jeeps, you look at some of these F-350s and Dodges that were at SEMA, RBP, Rockstar, these brands to where they're putting horns on there and air ride, all the things that Tesla in some ways already has. And they incorporate LEDs and lighting. Again, this is just right up Tesla's alley. So can you imagine what the aftermarket's going to do with this shape that really would just love to be modified? And if you look in the thumbnail, I mean, I don't do aftermarket trucks. I've always been a builder of cars, and I've done imports and domestics and things like that. But I mean, I could just imagine, I could put out so many products that I think that would just enhance this vehicle. And I did that rendering so quickly in Photoshop just to give you a feel for the fact that you put wheels on this, you put a little roof rack, you reshape it, throw something in the bed. I'm telling you, SEMA is probably going to get crushed by these things. And if I were RBP, if I were some of these companies making products, I'm telling you right now, I'd not only have one as soon as possible, but I would just crush the market in it. And I think if there's confidence that there is going to be a lot of sales, I think anybody that gets in the game, they're just going to be ahead of the curve. I mean, these are like Hot Wheels, and I mean, when you see these guys go to SEMA, they not only spent $70 or $60 or $80,000 on their trucks, but then they put another 50 or 60 or 70 into them. And you might say, well, that's just a small group, but have no doubt that on the internet, you have a ton of people below that maybe don't have the 60 grand to put in, but they got 20. And so the fact is what what innovations are going to come in the interior and the other aspects of this Tesla truck, combined with what the aftermarket is going to do, you are going to be able to build something that literally nobody is driving. It's going to be so big. It's going to be so different. And I mean, if you're one of those guys that modifies in that way, and I really do, it's not my genre. I'm not a builder of trucks, but I really appreciate these guys that do these big ladder bar setups and all the different color schemes, things like I'm putting on screen. I mean, it's totally awesome. The fact is, though, do you think these guys building these big F-350s at SEMA, do you think they're towing with them? They were towing them to the show. They weren't towing anymore. These are people's cars. This is their car scene. These are the cruisers that they have. They're not even really using them as trucks anymore. They're using them as extensions of their own creativity and style, and it's their literal car. So I mean, the unibody structure and the way that this Tesla is built is probably going to ride phenomenally well. And it's just going to give you so many abilities, and I think it's just something that's really going to have a huge impact. So if you're on that wagon, you got a lot ahead of you. So number 6, look at this vehicle here. A lot of windshield, open space. These were military vehicles. And now look at this. This is what the aftermarket does. This is what overlanding does. Can you imagine the aggressive machine that you can build for the road? Imagine an exoskeleton or something in a bar form that goes on the outside of this vehicle and just makes it look like some kind of, crazy machine that's going down the road. I mean, you could do so much with this. I mean, it's exciting when you think about it. You just have to take away the expectations that you would normally have. You have to take away this negativity that people are putting in when it comes to, the payload and the towing, because that's really not what this vehicle's about. I mean, you can really kind of start to have your own niche here when it comes to these vehicles that I think are going to be totally disruptive and totally awesome. So, I mean, it's a big one. Number 7, Tesla profits. If you look at GM, I mean, if you look at some of these other car companies, they're really taking the full parts bin that they have available. And like in GM, the Suburban is one of the most profitable vehicles they have. They have leverage over everything that is basically going into the creation of this vehicle, to where the engineering is done. A lot of the components are done, and they're just basically putting it together into another vehicle package that they have a lot of leverage over, and is also carrying a pretty high price tag. And I think Tesla is going to do that here. I think the previous technology they've developed in the Model S and the Model 3, combined with some of the research and technology advancements they've probably done with the Semi, are going to combine into this product. And here he is leveraging, materials from SpaceX, battery technologies from the solar companies that he's involved with, and putting this together in something that I think they have a lot of leverage over. And I think even though Wall Street and the investors are reacting to the very negative media and automotive media that's just all group thinking, I think what it's going to end up happening is if Tesla can continue to push through some of these tough times to where they're a little thin on cash, I think they're going to hit the big time with the Tesla truck. And I think the starting point, it was a big one. $40,000 is a big move to really get the overall package. I always think base models tend to be the best models. I mean, you want to get after the big numbers, the big towing, but when you think about it, you get the majority of the vehicle in a base model and do what you want to do with it. I think that's a big deal. So guys, I'm just going to tell you that I've spent probably at least 30 years at this point in my life following the automotive aftermarket and following the market in general. I always kept it diverse because I loved how genres skipped around, and that's a big thing that happens in the modification world and in the automotive enthusiast world, is we see genres kind of crossing over and playing with each other's styles. And that's the just like fashion, it tends to be revolutionary versus evolutionary. This is something, my perspective has really spanned such a large portion of time. I started as an enthusiast, I evolved into a builder and a forced induction fabricator and engine management tuner, and then went into manufacturing and was involved with a manufacturing company. So I've seen the automotive market from a lot of different perspectives. I don't have 2 million viewers and subs like Demuro does, but I can definitely tell you that I think my opinion combined with his, it should give you a better perspective. And I hope this has helped you. So if you leave a comment below, let me know if it's maybe changed your mind, maybe made you think of some things. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out some of my other videos. I do one Corvette video per week, and then I try to throw in one random video because I'm just an enthusiast of all things, and I love the automotive market in general. I'd like to post plane videos and all other kind of stuff, but I try to keep it automotive. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a good night.